Start game now. Welcome, retro fans, to another episode of the No Swear Gamer. Last time we did the top 10 games I've reviewed so far. Today we're going to do the bottom 10, or the worst 10 games I've reviewed so far. And we're going to start from the number 10 and work our way up, so the last game will actually be the worst of the whole lot. So let's go ahead and get started. At number 10 is Space Jockey for the Atari 2600, which I reviewed in episode 67. Its problem is it's just very repetitive and bland, kind of like a bowl of plain Quaker oatmeal, which is actually the same company that made this game. Yep, Space Jockey, you can fly away from this one. Number 9 might be controversial to some, but it is Baseball for the NES from episode 75. Technically, there's nothing really wrong with baseball. It's a solid early baseball game, and when it came out, I'm sure I would have really enjoyed it. But today, I just find it incredibly slow-paced, and it just doesn't hold my interest. As a matter of fact, it would have been great if they could at least given the teams bigger names than just a single letter. Baseball, I guess it's a solid game. It's just boring to me. Number 8 is a game that's not solid, and that is John Elway's Quarterback, a football game for the Nintendo Entertainment System from episode 89. John Elway's Quarterback was an early football game with just a broken play mechanic where you have to point an arrow to pass. There's not really much of a running game, it's just the quarterback running, and it's just not much fun. And to top things off, it won't even let you pause the game. John Elway's Quarterback is a pass for me. See what I did there? At number 7 is Urban Champion, or as I like to call it, Urbane Champion, for the Nintendo Entertainment System from episode 41. Again, it's an early NES game that is just very, very bland. It's basically an early button masher. All you do is punch guys back and forth, occasionally fall in manholes. When the best part of the game is the cops showing up to interrupt the action, you know something's wrong. Urban Champion. Nintendo made some great games, but guess what? They could make some bad ones as well. At number 6 is The Adventures of Mighty Max for the Sega Genesis from episode 65. Mighty Max seems to be able to jump about 10 times his body height until he picks up a piece of garbage he has to take to a portal. Then all of a sudden he can barely even move an inch. It is just tedious gameplay, basically one fetch quest after another with uninspired enemies. But I guess at least you get to shoot penguins because that's what heroes do. Mighty Max, it's not so mighty on the Sega Genesis. At number 5 is a recent game I reviewed, and that would be Ballz with a Z for the Sega Genesis from episode 99. It is a one-on-one fighter with an impressive kind of technical feature, being kind of a 3D kind of fighter, almost like Virtua Fighter. But there are several problems with this game. First of all, it's just bland and boring. Ends up being more of a button masher than anything, with special moves that are hard to pull off, and when you do, they really don't seem to do much, and the difficulty ramps up way too quickly even on the easy mode. And to top things off, it is rude and crude and is just irritating too. Ballz with a Z for the Sega Genesis is another game that is just fit for the garbage can. At number 4 is Firefighter for the Atari 2600 from episode 53. The problem with this game more than anything is there is no challenge to it. You cannot lose at Firefighter, which kind of takes like the kind of climactic feeling out of the game. So yeah, the fire engine looks good, and I guess the fire is okay, and well, and the guy in the building can be funny. Whatever, it's just boring. Pass on Firefighter. Number 3 is Star Fox, not the Super Nintendo one, for the Atari 2600 from episode 96. It was a budget title made by Mythicon. Star Fox is basically a Defender clone with some seriously broken gameplay. You have to pick up these crystals, which are near impossible to pick up due to the controls and the inability to turn your ship to the right or left when you get near the bottom of the screen to pick them up. To make matters even more worse, it has some of the worst sound in the background whenever you don't shoot your lasers, and enemies that ramp up incredibly in difficulty. Go play the Super Nintendo version instead. Number 2 is Firefly, also for the 2600, from episode 95. It's another budget title from Mythicon. Firefly has you flying around in some sort of mechanical bug to try and take on different enemies. They have a nice variety of enemies. The problem is, it's kind of like Space Jockey. It's just plain boring. And kind of like Star Fox, The sound is irritating, makes you want to run away. Firefly, fly far away from Firefly. At the number 1 position is Tax Avoiders for the Atari 2600 from Episode 8. Some games are bad because of poor programming, and some games turn it into an art form, and that's what Tax Avoiders does. Whether it's the invisible elevators you can't see until you step on them, all the blinking characters on the screen, or a bad guy who's sometimes a good guy who chases you around while you try and gather investments that can go up or can go down. It's just a whole mess of confusion. It just goes to show that your standard tax accountant probably shouldn't be programming video games, which is exactly what happened here. But hey, it had some really cool artwork. Never has a 1040 looked so cool than the label of Tax Avoiders. So there you go, guys. My bottom 10, the worst 10 games that I have played so far after 100 episodes. Are there other games I missed? Maybe. Have I played them yet? Maybe, maybe not. But we shall find out. Oh, and by the way, I'd rather play E.T. than all these games on my list on the 2600. So E.T., definitely not the worst game of all time. I have at least 10 that I believe is worse than that. Thank you guys for giving me a little part of your day. If you enjoy videos like this, go ahead, click the like and subscribe button. Who knows, maybe after another 100 episodes, I'll do another bottom 10. You never know. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Go to either one and search for The No Swear Gamer. Thank you guys for giving me a little part of your day. I look forward to seeing you next time right here on The No Swear Gamer. Take care, everybody.